welcome if you're new. Today we're going to be talking about copyright infringement on Etsy and how and why you should protect your images online. We're going to also go through a few watermarking styles and what I do in my business to protect my images. As you can tell from the title of this video, some of my Etsy photos were stolen. I wanted to go ahead and make this video just to let you guys know what happened, tell you how I dealt with it, and the changes I made in my business moving forward so it hopefully doesn't happen again. I also hope that this video would help some other small business owners avoid this as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys the story about how my Etsy photos were stolen. A few months back, a good friend of mine texted me a picture of one of my images, and it was actually an item that I made for her specifically. I made it for my business as well, just to take sample photos of a new item that I was putting into my shop, but it was also going to be a gift for her because she was going to be having a baby soon. So she was on Etsy one day just shopping around, and she saw the image of the item that I had made for her, and it had her daughter's name on it and everything, and it's a pretty unique name, so whenever she saw it, it really caught her eye. And she sent me a picture of it and asked me, hey, is this your item? I think that someone's using your photo. So I, of course, freaked out. It totally, I don't know, it felt like, made me feel so vulnerable to see my photo on someone else's shop listing with their shop logo and everything. It was just the weirdest thing. And so I went and looked at their shop. And as I got to looking around, I realized that not only did she take some of my images, she also took some of my font option photos and my color choices, which was just so weird to me because there's no way that she would know exactly what fonts those are that I was using, but I guess she was gonna try it out. I also went to look at her reviews, and they were absolutely terrible. She had like 3 stars was the highest that she had. She had only had a few sales. So the first thing that I did was I sent her a message, and I just let her know, hey, I can see my photos on your shop. Can you please delete these? And if you don't, I'm gonna have to report you to Etsy. Now, some people would have just reported her right away and not even reached out, but I do know that if you get your shop reported on Etsy, it's really bad and they could potentially delete your shop. So I was kind of trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, even though she's totally wrong for using my photos. I wanted to go ahead and give her a chance to delete it before I went ahead and reported her. So I sent her a message. Y'all, she never replied. She never even acknowledged my message. About an hour after I sent the message, I went back on Etsy and I just opened up the message that I had sent to her, and I went to go look at her shop again, and it was gone. She had deleted her whole shop. So I don't know, she still to this day has never said a word to me, but I just wanted to let you guys know what happened. This is so important because people do this all the time. I know several Etsy sellers personally that have had their images stolen. And this is terrible because we put in so much hard work to create the item, to take the photo and everything, and these people just come and steal them and then just try to duplicate what we're making, and it's really wrong. I hope that if this ever happens to you, you will not just act like it's nothing. Some people don't care for some reason if their images get stolen, but I think as a business owner and as you get more successful, people are going to notice. They're going to see your successful listings, they're going to see your great pictures, and they're going to say, oh, that's easy, I'm just going to take it instead of taking the time to create my own. And so I really encourage you guys to take the steps that you need to protect your images online, including social media. And also if you have a separate website that you use, like I have a Shopify site. When I was first researching copyright infringement, it kind of made me feel like maybe my images weren't copywritten, so I didn't actually do anything to them in order to get them copywritten. But as I got deeper into my research, I found that if you take that image belongs to you. There's nothing you have to do in order to own that image. If you took that image, you produced that image, it is yours. As a business owner, any photo that you take for your business belongs to you. And if anyone uses it without your permission, this is called copyright infringement. Etsy refers to it as intellectual property. Intellectual property refers to creations of the mind, such as inventions, literary and artistic works, designs and symbols, names and images used in commerce. So now let's talk about what you can do to prevent this from happening to you too. the number one thing that I recommend is to watermark your images. Basically, this is just where you will put your shop name or your logo somewhere within the image in a very discreet place. That way, if someone was to try to take your photo, it would literally have your shop name on it. There are so many programs out there that you can use to watermark your images, such as Canva, PicMonkey, Adobe Photoshop. You can also just use your computer or laptop and your phone as well. Any way that you can just add a logo or some wording to your picture, that will be perfect for you to use. I personally use my MacBook to add my watermarks to my photos. I'm going to go through the different types of watermarks that you can use, and I'm also going to talk about what Etsy thinks about watermarking. Now, there are good and bad ways to watermark images, and I'm going to go through some advice that I have for anyone that does want to watermark their images, but in a way that it doesn't take over your photo and kind of turn your customer away. Sometimes when customers do see watermarks that are too distracting, or they create a new focal point for the image and take away from the actual item that they're shopping for, it can kind of turn your customer away. So we want to make sure that when we're watermarking our images, it's very discreet, and size and placement really matter. Now we're going to go through a few tips that I have for watermarking your photos. You really want to give thought to your watermark. What exactly do you want the watermark to say? Like, would you rather it be your logo, or would you rather it be words? I personally use my Instagram handle, so it's just @goodandlovedco, but you can really have it to be anything that you want. It could be your shop name, it could be your logo, anything like that that will identify your business being the owner of that photo. You also want to think about the font, the size, the opacity, the color that you choose for the watermark, placement, and consistency. You really want the consistency of the watermark to be the same throughout most of your photos. That way it doesn't look different and it's not in a completely different place on every single photo. So when someone goes to your shop and they're looking at your photos, it's very discreet. You can't even hardly see it in the Etsy photo, but it is there and it's in the same place and looks the exact same way in every photo. Now with placement, I will show you guys how I do mine, and I do kind of move it around here and there, but it's always kind of somewhere within the middle of the photo. I don't put it in the very corner because that can very easily be cropped out. That's exactly what happened when someone took my photos before. They just cropped out my logo, and yeah, that was it. So I learned a lesson on that. You definitely want to have the watermark kind of more towards the middle of the photo or touching the item that you're selling. That way it's not completely off to the side and they can't just like blur it out or crop it out. If they try to do that, they're gonna literally mess up the item so where it doesn't look right, if that makes sense. So you really want to make sure you get the placement perfect. You also want to choose a font that goes well with your brand. You don't want it to be something too bold or something too light that you can't see. You want to choose something that really highlights the photo and really highlights your brand as a whole. The next thing I want to mention to you guys is that size matters. You want your watermark to be legible, but not overwhelming. I know you've seen those watermarked photos where the watermark literally takes over the entire image and you can't even really see what's behind it. That is the type of watermark that we really want to avoid. Pick a really conservative size that's not too big and overwhelming, but that's not so small that it's not legible. You also want to be sure that your watermark does not create a new focal point within the image. By this, I mean that whenever the customer looks at the image, you don't want their eye to be immediately drawn to the watermark. You want them to be able to look at the image as a whole, look at the item, flip through the photos, and not be so stuck on what the watermark says, but you want them to just see the watermark, but not be like drawn to it, if that makes sense. You want the watermark to be there, but that it's so like not that noticeable that they can probably see it, but it doesn't overwhelm the photo. They can still see all the details that they need to see of the item, and their eyes not being so drawn and attached to that watermark. Because you may have taken a really great photo of your item and then adding a watermark on there that is just the wrong size, wrong color, wrong font can really be distracting to the customer and make them just want to get away from your shop instead of pulling them in and being inviting with your images and you're watermarking, the watermark should really just add to the photo and not distract from the photo. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what some good and bad watermarking examples would be. We will start with some bad watermark examples. So here we have an absolutely beautiful photo, and then this watermark just kind of killed it. The color's way too dark, the size way too big, and the opacity is just too solid. Next we have these two photos here that have two different types of watermarks, but the font's too bold, the size is too large, the opacity in the first photo is way too solid, and they both create new focal points. Now we'll move on to the good watermark examples. This is the alternative to the last photo, and this one's a lot better. This one, they have the watermark down there in the bottom right corner, and it looks a lot better. It's hardly noticeable at all. And this is a watermarked photo from my good friend Simply Sally. This is from her design shop. This is the example of a perfect watermark. The watermark that she has here is a little bit of a different style. It is an overlay watermark style. And then here are some examples of how I watermark my photos. You can really hardly even see my watermarks. You really have to look to find them, but they are there. They're overlapping the product somewhere within the middle of the photo, and the font is perfect for my brand. Now let's talk about what Etsy thinks about watermarking and their advice for protecting your images. Etsy says that anytime you upload a photo publicly to the internet, it comes with a risk. To help protect your images, we recommend following these tips. If you are selling 2D prints or original artwork, you can use photos of the actual print or work instead of the digital file or an up-close image. For example, you could use a photo of your print hanging on a wall. Now that's a really great idea, because what that does is it actually takes away your image from being the main image of the photo. That way no one can just go in and just screenshot that image and share it for themselves. It would be like attached to something else, so that they couldn't just duplicate it being a digital print like that. It would be much harder for them to duplicate. Another recommendation that they give is to upload images that are around 1500 pixels wide. This creates an image large enough to view without blurring, but small enough that a viewer won't be able to save a larger, higher quality file. This is a really great tip as well, because if you make the image that size that Etsy's talking about, it's really only good on the Etsy platform. If they were to try and save it to their phone or save it to their computer or whatever and upload it somewhere else, it's going to be really hard for them to use it without it blurring out. Etsy also says that you can incorporate your brand into your images. While some sellers use watermarks, we generally don't recommend them. Using watermarks makes photos unsuitable for features within Etsy, like Etsy Finds emails, and ineligible for off-site advertising programs like Google Shopping. Instead of watermarking, if you have a brand associated with your shop, whether it's a logo or a specific font for your shop name or a packaging style, try including it within your image, but not as an overlay. This way, everyone will know who made the item. Now, I understand what Etsy is saying, but I also think that they have a certain way that they want sellers to do things, and they really try to keep us in a box, unfortunately. And with that, Etsy has a certain aesthetic that they like. And the type of watermarking that I was talking about that you would consider a bad watermark, I think that's what they're trying to avoid having all over their search screens. So I think that they just cut out watermarking altogether and don't recommend it, because so many people don't do it right that it basically can be so distracting to the customer, and they just don't want that. They want people to be buying items and not distracted by people's logos and business names. And is this a fact? No, it's not. That's just my opinion. Don't come for me. One thing to keep in mind with watermarking on Etsy is that if you do use any of those features that we just talked about, which is basically like Google Shopping or off-site ads, you might want to steer away from watermarking if you really do rely on those to promote your business. But I personally don't do off-site ads. I don't even do ads a whole lot inside Etsy. But when I do intend on doing ads, I will just run them through the regular way that you do it in Etsy. I won't really do the off-site ads, but to each their own. If you do prefer the Google ads or the off-site ads through Etsy, I would recommend that you maybe think twice about watermarking, just so that you're not exempt from that. Alright you guys, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this video and it helped you to understand watermarking and the importance of doing this with your photos. I would also recommend that you keep an eye out on Etsy for people that might be using your photos. I have heard of instances where even after someone adds a watermark to their photo, people still use their photo that has been watermarked, which makes absolutely no sense to me, but people still do it. So definitely keep an eye out on Etsy and other selling platforms as well, or just even on social media. If you ever see an image that belongs to you, go ahead and report it, go ahead and reach out to that person, ask them to delete it. Be proactive and protect yourself and your business, because the last thing that you want to do is have things stolen from you after working so hard to create an item, take photos of it, and add it to your business, only to have someone take that from you. It is just so wrong. I hate that we even have to talk about this or think about this, but there are people out there that just really don't care, and they do whatever they want to do to get their own, a leg up in the world. So do what you can to protect yourself, to protect your business, and to protect all of your hard work that you put into creating these items, taking these photos, and making your shop yours. I hope that you guys got something out of this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up before you go. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I really want to thank you guys for being part of this little community that we have here. I'm so thankful for you. And if you guys have any other video ideas, please do leave those down below in the comment section for me. I would love to get your input on what you guys want from me, what you want to see here on my channel. Also, let me know what you guys think about watermarking down in the comments. Let me know what you think, and if this has ever happened to you, if you've ever had your photos stolen, tell us what happened to you down there in the comments. I hope you are having a great new year so far, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!